Man, I wish I got left practice early.
Well, Kyle, when you went back during the bye week and looked back over things, what areas of growth did you see out of Robert? Can you give me some examples? Did you see any?
Yeah, I mean, you mean in comparison to last year?
Or just from week 1 to week 4.
I think he progressed each week. I think he got better each game since the Philly game. In terms of last year, I think he was in a lot more situations in these first 4 games than he wasn't in last year. Times where we had to throw it a lot more and go to some more drop back game, and he didn't get too many opportunities like that last year. So I thought he did fairly well in those situations, and he's gotten better.
Was there any particular point where you looked at it and said, "Oh wait, okay, that he's starting to get it. He's coming along."
I think you see it all the time. I think, I don't think everything's been totally consistent, but I think you see it at practice. I think you guys have all seen it in the games, and I think our whole offense hasn't been totally clicking all together as 11 players, and I think we're starting to get there each week, and hopefully we'll get it more this week.
Kyle, you guys have wanted to establish the run since you've gotten here, and when you guys aren't able to do that early in the games, how does that really have an effect throughout the rest of maybe the next 3 quarters?
It depends what type of game it is. If you can't get the run going early in a game and then you're down by a lot, it's tough to get it going later. I don't think we got it going early versus Oakland. We were down 14 points, but then we ended up scoring, getting back in the game, and it was a tight game at the end. We were able to keep going with the run and staying in a tight game and ended up pulling it out at the end, and we got that balance that we're always looking for.
Alfred didn't get to finish the game with the rib injury, but what did you see in that last quarter from Rory?
With what? He looked good. I think he's looked that way all this year. I think he looked that way. It started about halfway through his rookie year. So we believe in Roy. We think he's a real good player, and I was happy for him to come out there and get some opportunities and do what he's capable of doing.
Has Leonard won the job as a Z receiver, the competition with Josh?
I don't think we really look at it like that. I think he's been getting definitely more of the reps, and we've been going with him more, especially in these last 2 games. But we haven't deemed him the winner or anything and made anything cut and dry. We think both of them do some good things. So, we never designate who we're going to start because a lot depends on plays, a lot depends on what we're trying to do. But he's definitely earned getting a little bit more playing time, but no, it's not cut and dry yet.
He's obviously made huge strides. What areas would you like to see him still excel even more in, Leonard?
He's done everything we've asked, so you just keep hoping he plays good. You keep hoping he separates, and he's done that, and he's made the plays when we've gone to him, and you just don't want him to have any setbacks. He's been doing good in practice, and I think I've been encouraged with him the most is that you guys have seen him have some success lately, and I think it's helped him. I think he's gotten a little bit more confidence, walks around with a better swagger. I think he knows he can do it, and he wants to do it, and he's excited to get that opportunity, and hopefully we'll give him some more.
Kyle, back to Alfred real quick. How important is getting him established this week, just in terms of keeping the ball maybe out of Dallas's hands? A ball control kind of, thing where they are not,
Yeah, I think whoever we play, you don't want to get in a one-dimensional game. That's always just a philosophy in football. You make any team one-dimensional, it's hard to be successful. Especially when you're going against an offense, that's important. But our main thing isn't, you don't just say you're going to keep the ball out of their hands by running it, because that sometimes can be a quick 3 and out. And even though if you have 3 running plays, if you don't move the chains, it doesn't really matter what you do. You're giving the ball back to them. So the number one goal is to move the chains and score points. We always believe that the best way to do that, the best way to help your players is to not be one-dimensional. So we think by doing that is mixing it up and doing both. So, in every game we play in, we believe in running the ball, and we know we got a challenge because we're going against a very good defense and a very good offense, and we know we're going to have to be good with when we get our turn and take every advantage with it.
Going back to Roy Haluk, are there opportunities that you can find other ways to get him into the lineup a little bit more, or is that is part of it because you guys aren't converting as well on third downs, you're not getting as many plays? But are there more opportunities for him other than just on the third down?
Did you say Haluk?
For Haluk.
I'd like to get Haluk out there more. It's always a hard thing when you got 2 guys you believe in, and with the success Alf's had last year and how much we do believe in Alf, so we don't like to just keep rotating those guys all the time. But I'd like to get Halou in there more. I'd like to get him more opportunities. You don't ever want to do that at the expense of another one of your good players, but the more plays you get, the more opportunities you get. You never know what week it'll be. Just because the guy doesn't do much one week doesn't mean we're down on him. It worked out a different way, and when his time comes, we can never predict it as coaches, but you hope he's ready for it. And he got that opportunity versus Oakland, and thought he was one of the main reasons we were able to win the game.
In that first game you guys faced the Eagles, you were facing off against a defense that went from a 4-3 to a 3-4, and now when you face the Cowboys this weekend, it's the other way around. It's a 3-4 to a 4-3. When you have these 5 games to look back on, how much more of an advantage is that, knowing that it's just not 4 games of preseason tape you have? You can actually kind of look at what this scheme is trying to do.
It's a lot better. I mean, hey, we feel a lot more comfortable when we have more tape. Who knows what the results, and every game's different, and you see what happens on Sunday. But, when you have more tape on teams, it makes you a lot more comfortable. We're in here all the time looking at stuff, and when there's more to look at, we're actually not driving ourselves crazy trying to just come up with stuff. We actually can see it on tape, and the more tape you get to see of people, the more you can be prepared, and the more you can help prepare your players.
Kind of as an offshoot of that, Ware's now moved to a defensive end role there for so many years after an outside linebacker. What have you seen out of his transition there, and how much has he gotten used to that responsibility?
It looks like he's getting better at it every game. I know he hadn't done it much in his career, but I've always thought he's one of the best players in this league. He still looks like the same guy to me when he wants to come off the ball and rush that passer. I mean, he's as scary as anybody there is. So I don't care whether his hand's in the ground or if he's standing up. There's not much of a difference to me because most of the time he's coming after the quarterback.
Seems like through 4 weeks, a lot of teams have been throwing more blitzes than usual, not just on Robert, but a lot of the young quarterbacks around the league. Anything you're seeing in film, any advantage they're gaining by that, and also ways you can, I guess, foil that and keep that pressure away?
Yeah, I don't know if they're doing more this year than usual, especially around the league. I mean, I look at it a week-to-week deal. I haven't really sensed much more any difference than the rest of my career. I have said, and we got blitzed the least amount last year that I've ever been close to a part of. But before that, I mean, the blitz has been the same pretty much my whole career, and it depends what teams you play, what coordinators you play, and what they believe in.
Yeah, you talk about you want to run the ball. That's kind of what everybody knows. But just looking at the numbers, looks like Dallas may be, better at stopping the run. Might be a little easier to pass against them. Now, this mismatch aside, generally speaking, what do you think when your strength is up against their strength?
I think our strength is trying to keep people off balanced. I think teams are good in this league, and especially Dallas. They got a real good coaching staff. They got real good players, and when teams know what you're going to do, regardless of their strength, when they know what you're going to do, I mean, it's tough to go against guys, and you just always want to keep people off. When teams are one-dimensional, you don't see many people succeed. You got to do some unbelievable stuff, but we're always going to try to be balanced. And going against Dallas, I know they've been better versus the run, but I think that also has to do with these last 2 weeks they went against. I mean, they had 2 pretty good performances by 2 pretty great quarterbacks with some very good surrounding casts, and I don't think that was really a knock on Dallas. It was pretty much a credit to how Denver and his weapons played and how Phillip played the week before. But, I mean, I look at this defense as being very good versus the run and very good versus the pass.
Yeah, I think I'm okay, thanks. Robert said yesterday that his last 2 games that he showed more things, and he thought that was necessary, not only to his teammates, but he kind of, intimated the coaching staff as well, able to call more things. Did he have to prove some things to you in order to be able to call different things?
Not really. I mean, only real thing that we did different versus Oakland is we got into a little up-tempo stuff. We did a no-huddle a few times, and but it wasn't any new plays. It was just huddling up at the line of scrimmage. I think that was really – that in Detroit we were able to do more stuff than we were the first 2 games because we thought we were in a game, and we did better on 3rd down versus Detroit, so we were able to stay on the field and run more of our offense and be able to see the coverages that they were doing and make adjustments when we saw that. But those first 2 games were so unusual that we got down so fast and not playing good at the beginning, and it was very limited. We had gone through 2 games and felt like we had only run about 10% of our offense. So it's been nice in these last 2 games to not be getting blown out in the first half so we can actually run an offense and be competitive.
Kyle, you guys won 2 games in 2 different ways against them last year, pass down on Thanksgiving and then the run on that Sunday night. Considering they've changed their front and some of their personnel, do you look back a lot to what you did last year, or is it almost a completely brand new year and you can't gain a lot from what you did to them last year?
Yeah, it's totally different. I mean, it's pretty much different even when it's the same coaching staff. But when you go from Ryan to Kiffin, I mean, it's night and day different in the front you're playing and the coverages and the philosophy. So, we don't really look too much into last year because, some of the same players, even though they were injured with a few guys last year, but it is a totally different scheme.
Cal, there's a handful of teams in the league that have the personnel to have 2 pass-catching tight ends running routes at the same time. Very few of them actually can get them running routes together. Oftentimes one stays in. Just as a coordinator, what difficulties are presented when you want to get 2 tight ends catching passes on the same drive together, maybe on similar plays?
I mean, it's tough. I feel like, and that's what I like about our tight ends. I think they do. There's nothing that they can't do. But I mean, it's tough to get real 2 pass dominant tight ends who are neither liabilities in the run game. And so I mean, it'd be nice to go out there and just get great wide receiver type tight ends, and that will help your pass game, but then you're going to get a lot more pass coverages. The D-line's going to rush the quarterback a lot more because they know you're not going to be in positions to where you really have an advantage in the run game. So usually try to get a little bit of both. If you can ever get 2 great pass tight ends and 2 great run blocking tight ends they do great at both, then you're probably going to stay in 2 tight end sets for almost every play. But that doesn't happen very much.
Kyle, to kind of build on that, this is the Cowboys defense that's given up a lot of yards, a lot of catches to tight ends so far this year. Are there similarities in the performances of Gates or Myers or Thomas last week, or are there just things you've seen in the defense that's kind of an advantage matchup?
I mean, they played a little bit more man versus Denver, and Thomas made some good plays with it. Gates got them on a couple. Gates had, I forget his stats, but he ended up having like 10 catches for 100 yards, and he had 1 catch that the one that won it, that threw out down the middle on a dancer, where he took it about 40 yards. But everything else, the defense was a big bend but don't break defense. I mean, they make you work the whole way down the field, and they got it to Gates on a ton of checkdowns and zone coverage, and he got up the field, and because it's tough to get big plays on Monty's defense. It always has been, and Gates did get one of them. They got him in a really busted coverage with a safety cheating one way. But besides that, I mean, when these guys are dropping in the zone and they're bend but don't break, that's when you're going to see tight ends, halfbacks get a lot of catches. And the way you win the game is those guys get up the field and move the chains and not make you punt. And because if you don't, it's going to always be 4th and 1. That's good? All right, guys.